Time for tonight's War Room and what President Obama can do to add to the Clinton campaign. Our strategist tonight, Jeffrey Pollack, president of Global Strategy Group and one of the pollsters for Priorities USA, a super PAC that supports Hillary Clinton. Also with us, Sevugan, a former national press secretary for the Democratic National Committee and a former senior spokesperson for President Obama's 2008 campaign. Jeffrey, the president looked so eager to be out there and in fine form, as they say, as a campaigner.
Yeah, well, he said one mistruth today. He said he's run his last campaign. It's clear today that he's got one more in him. Yeah. And, you know, he's a tremendous asset. I mean, this is a guy who right now his numbers are at a high. He is doing incredibly well. He is a desired spokesperson on the trail. And I think he's a huge asset for Hillary. Let's listen to what he said about Hillary Clinton as Secretary of State, because this can be interpreted as close as we came today to a response about this email situation.
She was a great Secretary of State. And by the way, that's not just my opinion. That was the view of the American people and pundits throughout the time that she was serving as Secretary of State. Before the whole political machinery got moving. You remember that? It wasn't that long ago. It's funny how that happens. Everybody thought she was doing a great job. That's because she did do a good job. But it's funny how the filter changes a little bit.
Hari, that seems like what we're going to be hearing from the president, and it's hard for me to imagine what they would say out there together about this email thing.
Yeah, well, I don't think the president's going to address it at all, and I don't think he has to, and in fact, I don't think he can, given the sort of ongoing nature of the Justice Department decision. But more importantly, and to put a finer point on what Jeffrey was saying, you know, it's not that he's popular. He's popular with the right people. His numbers, the increase in popularity has been buoyed by, you know, increase in popularity with Hispanics, young people 18 and 29, and independents. That's exactly who Hillary Clinton needs.
And let's listen to what Donald Trump said today about President Obama campaigning for Hillary.
We have a president who's out campaigning for crooked Hillary Clinton, and he should be home working on ISIS, where the threat is getting worse and worse. He should be working on trade. He should be working on the borders.
Jeffrey, that's not going to keep President Obama home.
I mean, look, we want him to keep speaking as much as humanly possible, Lawrence. Every time that man seems to open his mouth, it just gets better.
But that seemed like, for him and for his supporters, a pretty effective response to what
for sure. He speaks
You always get to say the president should be back at the White House working. Whenever they're on the golf course, you always get to say they should be back there.
For sure, and we did the same thing against George Bush, right? And look how good that did for us, right? I mean, so look, that's a great speak to the base kind of a thing, Lawrence, but it's not really speaking to persuadable voters, and it's not really the thing. Look, he is a limited person, and his speech just sort of gets him in trouble, and that's what today is about, and you saw it multiple times today.
Let's listen to more about what President Obama said today.
Nobody fully understands the challenges of the job of president until you've actually sat at that desk. Everybody's got an opinion, but nobody actually knows the job until you're sitting behind the desk. Everybody can tweet, but nobody actually knows what it takes to do the job until you sat behind the desk. I mean, Sasha tweets, but she doesn't think that she's thereby should be sitting behind the desk.
Hari, but demeaning Donald Trump in every way that he can, but also pushing the qualifications of his candidate, and it's the kind of counter-argument to let's get something new in there.
Yeah, well, look, I think the president offers a couple things to Secretary Clinton. One is, I think he can not just take on Donald Trump and be that sort of rhetorical sparring partner, and not just to parry with Trump, but really surgically dismantle him. And you saw that today. You saw that as far back as the Correspondents' Dinner in 2012. But he also is very good at the big picture. You know, if Bill Clinton can take policy and make it relatable to people like he did in that 2012 convention speech for the president, Barack Obama takes the big picture and makes it relatable for voters, and that's what this election is going to be. It's going to be a directional kind of election. It's going to be a big picture election.
The real War Room veterans, Jeffrey Pollack and Hari Sevugan, thank you both for joining us in the Last Word War Room tonight. Coming up, Donald Trump's vice presidential selection. Someone who had a chat with Donald Trump on the plane the other day says the short